So this is a story of 4 rooms. 2 rooms upstairs, 2 rooms downstairs. And the first room upstairs is the first room that I occupied as an aspiring designer, which I call the room of great work, where I thought if my work looked like great work, that was as good as I could get. And then I met Wolff Olins, and I crossed the corridor into a room called the Room of Reason. And this was my sort of induction into there is logic in design. It can make strategic sense to be like this. This is what the competitors look like. You shouldn't look like that. So I found I couldn't create in the room of great work. I could only copy. I couldn't create in the room of reason because it steered you into mediocrity. It steered you into satisfying too many people. And also, I think it was George Bernard Shaw who said, nothing is accomplished by a reasonable man. And so I have always had a streak of unreasonableness in my work, and it's served me well. You know, I think that if work is utterly reasonable, it's probably going to be boring. So those are those 2 rooms. It's folly not to know them. It's folly not to know the work of great designers on whose shoulders we all stand. You know, I wouldn't be who I was if I hadn't have admired Alan Fletcher. I wouldn't be who I was if I hadn't learnt from Wolff Olins or other people in our business who took it forward. But I can't create in those 2 rooms. So I now go downstairs into the left-hand room, which I would call the room of precedent. And that is a room where you say, I did this before and it worked. So now I'm going to do it again, only slightly different, which is why all gas stations look the same, why all banks look the same, why all airlines more or less look the same, you know, something on the tail, the name of the airline on the side, dress the captain up like a South American dictator, and job done. And it's the room of precedent. It's this works. It's a mixture of reasonable. It's much easier to sell a client something that's reasonable than to sell a client something that's unreasonable. You will find most design companies of stature and size are very able to occupy the room of precedent. It's a very popular room, which brings you to the next room, which I call the 4th room, which is the room of not knowing, where you've been into the other 3 rooms, but you trust your personal creativity to produce something that wasn't there before. Creativity really means to create, and to create means it wasn't there before. You create something that wasn't there before. And we can all do it. We were all born being able to do it. And so I suppose in telling this little fable, I'm encouraging you to trust that in you, which is informed by great work, informed by reason, informed by precedent, but not the source of your creativity. The source of your creativity is going to come far more easily from your noticing and from your appreciation and ability to step into other people's shoes.